Hi everyone, welcome to Little Life Tales, the podcast. We are finally here. Here's a place where people life stories are told. You might have come here through the Little Life Tales project. As you might know, on Little Life Tales, we share weekly a story of a person. We usually never reveal the faces and never reveal the identity of the person because we want the story to be the first thing people focus on. On this podcast, we will have one guest once a month on Monday, where the guest share his or her stories, growing up, and many things more. Stay tuned and follow the Little Life Tales adventures on littlelifetales.org. And if you want to get featured on this podcast, go to the Instagram page of Little Life Tales. Thank you so much for all of your support, and thank you for listening. Hi everyone, welcome back to Little Life Tales, the podcast. Today is our second episode, and we'll be introducing our first guest here. Before we jump into this, as you probably know if you follow the Life Tales the project, you know that our guests never reveal their identities, and the whole concept of that project is that people focus on the story, and that's why we never reveal their faces. The concept of this podcast is a bit different, where I want to give people the choice. If they want to reveal themselves, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to. But to me, it's very beautiful because people get the chance to really dive in a bit deeper into their life experiences. They can all teach us something very interesting that they're experiencing in their lives. So I'm very happy about this beautiful possibility that we have to learn all this about people all together. So I'm very grateful for it, and I cannot wait that we start this adventure all together. So I met this guest 2 years ago. Actually, I was going through Instagram looking at some art projects from the Bronx, and I stumbled across the profile of this project that today's guest is going to tell us all about it. And I found it very fascinating, so I wanted to interview this person. But somehow this interview never happened. It took me kind of 1 year to wrap my head around the idea of doing a podcast. Taking this chance, I wrote back to this artist if he was interested still after 2 years delay to be featured in this podcast. So somehow he accepted, and he's telling his story today, and I'm very excited to be introducing you this amazing person, and I cannot wait for you to listen to this story. So let's jump right in. So welcome to Little Life Tales, the podcast.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce a bit yourself?
I'm a all-over creative, so I do art, graphic design, photography, cinematography, a lot of graphic design and illustration, and I do all of that in the Bronx. And then on top of that, I created my own company called the Bronxer LLC, which kind of does everything that I'm skilled at, but for other smaller businesses and people, stuff like that. And that's been my, I guess, 5 to 6 year journey so far.
And how did it all started for you?
One, I was born and raised in the Bronx. So technically, all you had was either a lot of dance and hip hop and food, or a lot of heavy graffiti and art. I wasn't really born with a gift to create, but I did and I appreciated a lot of people's work, and a lot of people around me were pretty artistic. Not in my family, but for friends and stuff like that, and teachers that I knew. So from there, I kind of dipped over, and the more elementary school, middle school, and high school, I kept meeting better artists. And I was just I want to learn. It's so great. So then I got friends that were artsy. I had some teachers that believed in me, so they put me in art programs. So from there, I started learning you could grow by yourself or with other people. So the way that started was just I just want to be good for myself, and I just kept it going.
Because you're very diverse. It's like you don't focus only on one thing. That is the cool thing about you. And you create something that is very special. And what is the inspiration behind all of it for you?
let's say a talent of just learning or just, taking in information. Anything could be information, whether it be art, dancing, athletics, whatever the case may be, how your body processes it. There's like millions of people around the world that are paying tuition to learn what you technically already know. And to throw something like that, like a gift or a talent away, I feel like is almost disrespectful to the universe. So,
I like that.
it's like, why not try it out and like see how, like, push it to the limit of how good you could do that for yourself. Because I'm not competitive at all, but I do just kind of like go against myself half the time, like every other human in the world. But that's what it is. It's just like, I want to just do it to inspire others that feel like they have no skill or talent, quote unquote, when they actually do. Like, I meet so many people that was like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You're clearly good at it. And for some reason, they just don't stay on that path. But I get it. There's other environmental circumstances for people's lifestyles. Nobody lives the same way, but I think it's still something to think about when, you're sitting and not doing anything.
Actually did something very brave, because you said to me when we were texting, organizing this past 2 years, pretty much, you told me that you quit a 9-to-5 job to do this. Kind of, you have to give up some of the certainties that you have in your life to pursue your calling, pretty much.
If you think about it, a lot of people are, I'm not gonna say stuck in a 9-to-5, but they're obligated to do that because of whatever they're trying to like uphold, whether it be like living in an apartment, a house, rent, feeding themselves. And that's okay, it's fine. When I was doing this whole like 9-to-5 thing, it was fun and all, but I saw a dead end, or like this wall where like I couldn't see myself grow, or I couldn't see a company let me grow, because at the end of the day, they have their own agenda, which is to make their own money and just keep on prospering. So the way that I thought about it was like, okay, if I make enough money to sustain myself through my own crafts, is that enough to leave a job? Or how much can I save and then do my own stuff to put all of that together to have a normal lifestyle as if I had a 9-to-5? So I've created a foundation of just friends, family, and just people that just know me and know my work. And it's like a symbiotic relationship where it's just like, it just works on its own. Like, I don't have to promote things. I don't have to like really push it. Like, I mean, I post my photo, I post everything on my Instagram and whatnot, but like, regardless, it's still something that I know that will just come back to me. I left it 3 years ago and I think I've been doing good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I've gotten more time, because that was the whole thing. Like, you don't have enough time to perfect your craft. So what do you do when you're out of time? You start getting all anxious and not depressed, but just like you don't have the willpower anymore to kind of like be creative or try new things, because you have to wake up early, you have to go to sleep early. It's just, everything is early, and it just doesn't work that way.
On everything that you do, what is like what are your influences that inspire you every day?
One thing that inspires me the most first is pretty much outside. Everything, like from the buildings to the people to the people's clothing, it's all culturally like put together. The buildings are so like, there's post-war buildings from like the 1900s. There's even 1800 buildings around here. There's just a lot of art, and to see that and then look it up and read it and learn about it is pretty cool, because nobody notices it, because everybody's just living their lives over here. But at the same time, that's one of my influences. And then also like my friends and family, because a lot of my friends do art and create and just are cool people, and we're always bouncing off ideas of what to do next and how to do it. That's a good input. Yeah.
Do people inspire you in your art, despite not just maybe the surroundings, but the people that you encounter every day? I don't know. My project is based on people, so that's why I always ask this, because like people that surround you, like their stories, even untold stories, if they ever touch you. Like,
well, before the pandemic, I would walk down like the streets of my neighborhood, and sometimes like all the way down to Manhattan, and I would always end up speaking with somebody, or they would end up speaking with me, and then there's always like this deep story about something. One time I was walking around my neighborhood and there was this guy pushing a big piano. And it didn't make sense to me because there's not a lot of pianos in the Bronx that are like open outside somewhere. And then he told me that. I thought he was this guy that goes from like home to home. He was just telling me that in music there's no curse. You can't curse in music because none of the letters can make a curse word on a keyboard or on a piano. And it was pretty cool because I would never figure that out on Google, but I would figure it out from some guy in the street that I never met. And I helped him put this table off his truck or something. But it was pretty cool. Like, people just have things to say, I feel. And it's okay to listen to them when they speak.
When you search for inspiration, for example, maybe you have some days that your inspiration is low and...
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Okay. And do people's stories or people like character inspires you somehow or gives you back like that drive that you have in doing your things?
Yeah, the drive is, I guess, their happiness, or if they have a lack of happiness, I feel. Because I feel like there's never too much happiness. There's always too much sadness. If there's too much sadness, that leads to worse things. I feel like if people are always happy and are at bay with themselves, I think it'll be better. So when I, photograph parts of buildings and people and food, I think it brings interest, not pure happiness, but something better than sadness in their lives. So like the knowing that you can make somebody happier somewhere else around the world or anywhere else without even directly speaking with them is pretty cool. So you don't have to worry about, that you have to go and look for inspiration. As long as I'm creating, I feel okay about it.
Mm-hmm. How is everything going currently with this pandemic? How it changed your work, your experience?
It was pretty intense because a lot of people were just very sensitive about anything. So like anything you would post or anything you would talk about, it couldn't be comfortably said or done because everybody was really like frantic and paranoid about everything. On top of that, everybody was putting their money or their finances in things that were important to them. Mm-hmm. So for me as a business, like I'm a luxury more than a necessity or an essential. So in order for me to have a living or even have an apartment or pay any type of bill, people have to have money too. So that was kind of difficult, and I had to like figure out a way on how to do that. And honestly, I just kept on creating because that's the only thing I was able to do until something like caught on. I mean, now people are becoming more acquainted with their lives and are starting to get their jobs back or a job back. And I'm starting to get jobs too because people want to build their businesses back up again. So
sure,
it's almost getting there. Yeah.
But did you for me, example, I used to interview people face to face, and that wasn't possible for a period of time. So it's also a moment for you to reinvent like your product that you're offering to the people, for example. I don't know if for you was the same.
For me, I was doing photography and video. Like a lot of my work came from cinematography, so I would go out and do a lot of events and document things. And now we can't because nobody wants to leave their house, or not a lot of people could be in a room all at once, outside, but by myself because everybody has to socially distance.
Yeah. No, it really, I think this area, especially the artistic part of people, were very also touched by this because like you depend on other people's businesses. From my perspective, for me was like a chance to better my abilities and also see maybe what people need right now, and then you're not so much in contact with people, but you use the technology that helped you out to get in touch with people, and that's also why this podcast happened.
Yeah, exactly. Like how we're doing right now is just like we could have probably been doing like a crazy video or something, or like doing a crazy project, but we can't because of certain circumstances. But this is cool. This is like the start of something new where things could start to normalize in a way. Mm-hmm. So, last year, even this year now, has set back a lot of people. Once people start feeling a certain way, then everybody else around them starts feeling the same way also. I feel like it's just human, human habit. And what happens with that is like everybody's in a weird mood. Everybody's either in a bad mood. Nobody trusts anybody anymore. Conversations aren't too easy. You can't just talk about anything. You have to make sure that their whole day is okay before you even talk to a person.
Yeah.
It was a lot of it was a lot of vocal preparation for a lot of people. But I think a lot of people say it's a perfect storm because a lot of people started like kind of cherishing and valuing a lot of things that are supposed to be valued and never overlooked. People did learn something from this, or are learning something from this, that not everything is certain and not everything is always going to be like perfect. So I feel like it's a good and bad thing. Obviously it's way more bad than good, but it kind of like refocused a lot of people's mindset and consciousness when it comes to just being alive.
Yeah, and what really matters probably as well, because now that you, like the fact that you cannot, even currently here where I am right now, you cannot really get in touch with other people. You cannot hug people, which for a lot of us, like physical contact with people, even that you love, that you care about, you cannot get in, you cannot hug them because you're protecting them. And that is it's like, think of it, it's crazy, but this is the thing that we are required to do in order to be good citizens, probably.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the main parts of being a human, and you can't be a human.
I wanted to ask you one last question, because I ask this question everybody when I interview them for the video. I always ask them that what is something, your experience, how you feel, something about you that can be an inspiration for somebody else, or that you would like to tell to your younger self, for example?
I say this pretty repeatedly a lot to a lot of people, that if you accept that always going to be someone better than you, I think you will become your best person. And I say that because there's about, almost 8 billion people on this planet. There's somebody bound to just do something better than you, or they've done it more than you, and it's okay, because when you try to be number one, you technically lose yourself, I feel.
Yeah.
And obviously there's competitions, there's championships of like who did it better, but that's not the case. It's like if you're better than yourself yesterday, you'll be better than yourself today. Like, you just keep on progressing as a person. So I feel like stop worrying about other people's achievements. In a way, you'll feel better by yourself. There's less stress and pressure on you to go harder, stress yourself out, because once you burn yourself out, that's it. There's nobody else. You can't compete with anything, honestly. You can't do anything, because now your body is at a low level mentally. So like, I guess like a good mental food would be just to look at your own work, look back at what you've done, and see how you could become better for yourself, not better than someone else, because also at the same time, that does cut off a lot of your opportunities and chances on meeting other people that could help you out, or be, make you a better person, and vice versa, So I think that's something that I think I've always been telling my younger self regardless, but I've also been telling other people currently, because a lot of people want to be good. A lot of people want to be, like I tell this to a lot of people, you want to be a lot like people on TV. You want to be people like outside, right? So usually you're not them and they're not you. And the reason why that is because you're supposed to be unique by yourself. So if that was the case, you would have been Siamese twins, or, one whole person, but you're not. So you're an individual because you're different, and you can become differently unique. So that's my like analogy on that question.
One more thing I want to ask from you, and then we're gonna say goodbye. Describe what we talked today in one phrase.
I think the most interesting part about this whole conversation was, I think your last question was, what do you want to say to people and your younger self? Because I feel it's that, because people are always like, I wish I could have done this, because they've already passed that moment. Nobody could go back in time, but everybody could fix their future. So that's what's been more intriguing to me about this conversation, because a lot of people need inspiration and hope that it's not too late. So the not too late part is it.
Thank you. Oh my God, really, we waited 2 years to do this, but it
Yeah.
was worth the wait. On my behalf, thank you so much
Yeah.
for this.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Where people can find you?
At the Bronxer, it's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I have my website, which is thebronxer.com.
People can check out your beautiful work and see a bit more about yourself. Thank you for everything, and good luck, and can't wait to see your new things that you do, really. Stay safe. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Little Life Tales, the podcast. If you want to know more about Little Life Tales, the project, go to littlelifetales.org. Or if you want to get featured in the podcast, go to the Instagram page of Little Life Tales and get in touch. And we can get connected and tell your story. Thank you so much, and talk to you soon.